The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday week. My name's Dan Fudge, and with me I've got Stevie, Simon, and the Ashmaster General. How's it going, guys? You all right? How was your weekend? Have you any of you break down on the M62 yesterday?
No, really? I didn't.
I must admit, I would be interested to find if anybody actually did. If anybody thought, you know what, I've not got much petrol left, and then got on that journey to Wigan, and then went, this was not my best idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Dan, I chose my car that's a diesel over an electric because that's how confident I was.
You've done really badly. All right, so we've got a couple of games to get through today. There's points on the board from both games, how it went and how we felt about it. We'll discuss that. We'll unpack it. Then we'll talk a little bit about probably not Kieran Lee because it just upsets me. And then we'll talk about something else at the end in any other business. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. If you're driving, I'll get you with petrol. Well done. All right then. So, first game that came along was at the weekend. We're recording this on Wednesday night, and Barcelona's losing to Benfica at the minute. So, just to give you a bit of idea of what time's going on. So, lads, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Ipswich. Long trot out there, and then we'll get to their goal at the end. Steve, what did you make of it, pal? Like, go on, give us a breakdown.
I'm one of those that didn't see it Saturday, but I saw the highlights, and it was one of those in the afternoon as you're looking for your updates. Off the back of the 4 games before it, or the 3 games before it, you were hoping for a response, and I think largely it was a kind of game where when we've gone 1-0 up and the goal that we've scored, you think, right, we're going to hold out and we're going to kick on. And I know that we're going to talk tonight probably at length about Peacock Farrell. I personally was more frustrated at the time that he's conceded the goal rather than the goal itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
One of those, because I'd not seen it, as I said, and everybody knows we've got a WhatsApp chat and everyone's sort of slating him. Vic was quite vocal about the whole, he's done it again. That's 3 games in a row. I think 1 or 2 of the other lads jumped on and was sort of slating him. And I just thought, right, we'll sort of see what happens. And tell me what's happened. I want to know. But when I actually saw it, I thought, bloody hell, I'm one of those that wanted the ground to open up for him.
It wasn't great, was it? But let's rewind a bit, Simon. Let's go back to the first half. I mean, it was difficult to watch at times. I found that the Ipswich for the first half an hour, you'd say, had the upper hand. No,
I think obviously Ipswich were billed as one of the teams to get automatic this season. The amount of money they've spent and so on and so forth, and they've not been performing. Probably a little bit like ourselves after our first few wins. If you actually look at the possession, it was probably sort of almost like 50-50. I think it was 54 to 46. Yeah. Nobody really dominated the game. I mean, I was supposed to be going, but didn't end up going in the end. But listening to the coverage and following Twitter and watching the highlights, it wasn't a game for a neutral to watch. Let's say that. Mm-hmm. It wasn't entertaining. A neutral would have switched it off and put something else on. This is the first game we haven't really dominated, and we've actually got a point out of it because the last couple of games, Shrewsbury, Morecambe, we've had 68, 70%, and we've lost and drawn. This is the first game where we've sort of gone in and the game's been pretty poor. But the goal was an absolute superb goal. Denerin's goal was just absolutely brilliant. But then I think the tactics ruined it in the second half. And then towards the end, we went defensive. And why are we doing that? Why are we sitting back and hoping for a 1-0? You're probably thinking, we're at Ipswich, 1-0 away. That's a good result against a team that should be up there challenging. But again, we've fallen into that trap of inviting teams onto us. And what happened, didn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, that second half was an actual contrast of what was going off. Go on, Ash.
There's inviting teams in, and there's opening the front door, letting the guy in, get in bed with your missus, make a cup of tea, and let him finish off. What would Peacock Farrell doing, man?
There were some question marks there. I know a lot of people have said about Peacock Farrell and the fact of, I think it was Dave mentioned about when you learn to ride a motorcycle, you'll have what's called a lifesaver, a right shoulder check. So you look over your shoulder before you overtake, just in case something's there. And that was a similar sort of thing. And you do see keepers, don't you? Holding the ball and they're looking around you. And at no time did he do that. But what annoyed me as well was there was a number of players in front of him looking in his direction. And I know he's a big lad, but sure enough, they saw the fact that there was a guy in blue and white stood behind him.
I often tried to point it out to him, didn't he?
Aren't we? We're 3 months away from Panto season.
Yeah. Well, that's good. He's behind you.
Yeah.
And it smacked to me of a massive mistake by him, obviously. But also, I think that there were other people who were culpable in regards to that happening as well. Of a shout to say, and that makes me worry about the sort of team attitude we may have at Wednesday at the moment. I might be wrong. I don't know. But I don't think it was purely his fault.
I mean, yeah, he's got to shoulder about 75% of it, but you're right. Where was the shout? And let's be honest as well. I mean, all right, yeah, the guys weren't ready for it and they were a bit out of position waiting for the distribution from the goalkeeper. But there was another 3 passes took place before the ball hit the back of the net. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's something I referenced here before, critical control points. All right, this has gone wrong. What can we do now? I need to make that tackle. We missed that tackle. What can I do now? I'll miss this one and miss. And it just carried on. And all of a sudden, one huge error led to 3 more smaller ones, as it were. And, oh, God, the timing of it, Steve. Sickener, right? Did it feel like a loss?
Yeah, it did, and that was a point I was sort of getting at. You know, after the year 18 months that we've had previously, where we conceded in the 90th, I think we talked about it in the past. It all seems to stem back to that Christmas game at Stoke, where we were comfortable and winning. And I've not seen a stat, and I don't really know the answer to that. But how many goals have we conceded in the 88th, 89th, 90th minute onwards? Straight away after that, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of the Blackburn game as well. That we conceded to lose there. I
could tell you, it's more goals than I've had salads.
That's a hell of a stat smash. I enjoy that. Speaking of stats, Ash, I mean they had 11 shots on goal and we had 6, and we only had 2 shots on goal on target the entire time. Is that indicative of the tactical change that we probably made towards the back end of the game, or do you reckon they were just better?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Ipswich, we've said it, haven't we? They spent relatively big, shall we say, for the League One, brought in some higher profile players and good players, and we've got them start the season. They're going to be in the top 4, definitely 100%, and they've had a crap start. So you think like away at Ipswich, you're going to be like, oh, it's going to be hard. Hopefully, one of the promotion like rivals, and it's like, oh, we'll take a draw. But then when stuff like that happens, which an individual mistake really by an individual player, you can't, none of those the XG spreadsheet shit things that people rave on about, for human error, isn't it? You can get all the maths, so expected this, expected that, but a lack of concentration in virtually the last minute of the game has cost us 2 points. But I mean, the first half, like you say, it was crap. We have been notoriously slow starters, and it's something that we need to get over. It was the odd game we score a goal and it's all rosy and things, but I think overall, percentage wise, the first half an hour, 25, 30 minutes of the game, we have been under it majority of the time. So I think it's something that Darren Moore needs to work on that side of it. I don't know if it's, excuse me, I don't know if it's like not lack of concentration to start the game, or if they're going out too confident or not confident enough, or in their own abilities and the teammates and things, but something that I think it needs to be addressed. And like Dennis's goal, I mean, against the run of play, yeah, I'd say so, but he finished it. he shinned it, but I'll take it. No way. but it was. It is what it is, isn't it? We say it all the time. It was a great finish, and obviously the guy personally, the guy. It looks to me that he breathes football. He loves it. There's got to be something major wrong if that guy's not got a smile on his face. Do you know what I mean? It's great to see, isn't it? And the second half, yeah, a couple of chances and thing. But then the last 10 minutes, even before the goal, they looked to be in it. And I think that the first 25 minutes of a game and the last 10 minutes of a game for Wednesday is the worst part, I think, purely because they're spreadsheet wankers will tell me it'll be when we score and when we concede, if you know. Absolutely. Like that. So
absolutely. To be fair though, Ash, I mean, let's be honest, we're all men over the age of 40. We're all spreadsheet wankers nowadays, aren't we? And I think that's probably going to be the name of the show. But I mean, you're right about Adeniran. I wonder if he was still smiling when BPF absolutely fumbled his lines. But I mean,
mate, my earlier thing about inviting someone in, I'd still be smiling then.
Like, come on now, let's talk about this game, because just beforehand, and I'm one of them people that, had we have been in sketchy at best form, with one loss, and we thought, do you know what, away at Ipswich is going to be a difficult task. Yeah. Would we have taken a draw to start with?
I think you would take a draw at start. To go all that way down to Ipswich with there was a lot of media attention. Paul Cook, obviously, I think he's got a slight axe to grind against Wednesday now. Mm-hmm. He was certainly rattling the sabres before the game. We'd come out of a mediocre game against Shrewsbury after we'd been told after the Plymouth game that we would turn up, and I'd slightly disagree with Ash in regards to being so out the blocks, because I think on that Shrewsbury game, for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, we absolutely battered them up until Bannon missing the penalty. I do think that we have come out slightly quicker this season, but when we don't get the goal, they seem to run out of ideas. I don't think our tactics work. I don't think one up front works. Me personally, I don't think that's working at the moment. And I think if we go on to the Wigan game, we'll discuss about changing formations up front, certainly in the second half. But yeah, it would be a 1-1 at Ipswich is, for all of us, since we've ever played Ipswich, a 1-1 away is a result. But it was the manner of the result, wasn't it? It wasn't the fact we got 1-1. It was the manner of it. It was a cock-up by a player and then a cock-up by a number of players afterwards, which resulted in 1-1. So it is like a win just turned into a loss, even though we came with 1 point, came back with 1 point. I'm glad I didn't, to be honest, because I was going to go down by myself. I'm glad I didn't, because that'd have been a shit journey back.
It's a long journey and all. It's crap. It's crap. It's so far away. Yeah. But then again, not as bad as Plymouth, but that's what you're going to get in League One. So, big error from Bailey Peacock-Farrell, and we walked away with a point at Ipswich. Some would argue, it's one of those games at the back end of the season where we'll go, if he'd have caught hold of that, we'd be in the playoffs, or we'd be promoted, or whatever. You know what I mean?
No, it's nothing like. But Izzy Brown's corner at
yeah. It's got elements to it. If we'd have finished that and all the rest of it, you know what I mean? It turns into one of those moments. But you referenced earlier on the lone striker, and we'll get onto that with the next game, because I think this is really interesting. Now, we had a debut a full debut for Saido Berahino. Steve, I mean, what did you hear about it? What did you reckon?
Against Ipswich?
Yes.
I thought he was all right. I think, obviously, he played the game before, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
What I've seen of him so far, I just think giving him time to settle in, I honestly believe that if we play to his strengths and we find the right position for him and the right formation for him, I absolutely believe that there's a player in there. I know he's still only 28 years old. He seems to have taken a pay cut to get to come and play for us. There's that long-standing sort of notion that Darren Moore's his boy, if you like, and has been looking out for him and looking after him. I was looking forward to seeing him last night, to be honest. I was quite disappointed that he didn't play. It's not just on Berahino. It seems to be there's a lot of chopping and changing going on at the moment. And just as a side note, I would wonder whether Moore is one of those managers that's very much horses for courses. He's gone in there, and we're going to play against some big old units on a Tuesday night in Wigan. It's a stereotypical rugby town, and we're going to have to set up with a Patterson, a Gregory, I forgot his name, Dunkley, back, and Hutch going back into midfield is a bit of a thing, isn't it? But I think Berahino, if I'd like to see him play in a two up top off somebody like a Patterson or a Gregory, a big target, and we can feed the ball into feet, and that seems to be the thing for Gregory. Go back to the Dennis goal. Johnson's got a few of the plaudits for the cross, but it's actually Gregory with a really nice touch to lay off. If we can get to those sort of situations where we've got players in and around, and if you go back to that game and you look at the goal that Dennis scored, there's 6-7 players in and around the 18-yard box. I was watching it and I'm thinking, how many times have I been to Hillsborough this year and not seen that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you go back to the Shrewsbury game, in the first 5-10 minutes, that's what we were doing. And then when we missed the penalty, it became really pedestrian. And the midfield was sitting so deep that it was sort of isolating the guys up front, especially in the second half when we were trying to play it from the back. And the midfield was so close to defence that when you tried to get the ball up front, it just came back at us because you got two guys up there, or one guy up there, effectively Gregory. And I think that was a lot of an issue with the Ipswich game, was that isolated man up front and not getting up there quick enough resulted in the ball just coming straight back at us. And that's where I think somewhere along the line we're lacking. The chopping and changing doesn't help, but we're lacking an identity in how we're playing. We're lacking, and it might be that Moore, like you say, Moore picks a team to play a specific team that we're playing against, but is there a point where, say, when we got promoted under Dave Jones, he stuck with the same side all the way from pretty much from when we beat United all the way to when we got promoted? It was the same
Darren Moore
side.
Won't do that. Darren Moore won't do that because I don't think he knows what his best team or how he wants to play.
Well, Carlos did that, didn't he? When he first joined, he didn't know his best team, and then we were about 5, 6, 7 games in, and then it all clicked, and we kept pretty much the same team. And Steve, you've managed football teams. You've played a lot of football, and you, Dan. A settled side has got to be a better. A settled side has got to be better than chopping and changing all the time. Surely.
I think
that's the teams that Dan played in. It all depends who hung over on a Sunday morning. Though I don't think it was managers doing.
It was
the Jaeger bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was Sunday League. When I was playing it in London, it was the ones that seemed to get picked first, the ones that were that was still cocained off their bunts. You know what I mean? The one, literally, hey, he looks energetic, that kid in midfield, and then he'd have a massive come down at half past.
He talks so much to the other players.
So
listen, go on, Ash.
No, I was going to say, we were talking about strikers and one up front and things like that, and I don't think Berahino and Gregory would work two up top together.
Okay.
I just don't think that. I think they both need a bigger target man. Patterson, well, that's the only guy we've got, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Playing Berahino in a front three but out wide is, I don't think that's not his position. No. And I think Moore's all right. You can't say shoehorned him in. He's giving him game time. He's giving him minutes, which obviously he needs to have. But Moore was stuck with the way he was going to play, so he had to fit the man into the formation rather than the formation. And I know we're not trying to just play to Berahino's strengths, but we've signed him for a reason. And I don't believe that reason is to play out left.
But I don't think Berahino would be able to lead the line on his own, which actually ties in nicely to moving on to the Wigan game. So we've been playing 4-2-3-1 for the majority of the season, despite the odd little change from that. But we've set up against Wigan, an away day at Wigan, 2 away games on the bounce. obviously going to be a difficult opponent. By no means a mug in this league. And we set up with 4-4-2 and 2 people up front, one being Lee Gregory, one being Callum Patterson.
No, we didn't.
Did we not?
No, it weren't that. No, we still won up front of the first half.
Did we not play Patterson behind as a supporting striker?
No, second half he switched in there.
All right, well, go on then. Educate me, because I.
No.
I'm just
I
going
can't
on the raw
nothing.
data, mate. Go on. What did you see?
No. Well, you know what they're like when they come out with the formations and team sheets and stuff. But no, it wasn't like that first half. Not the one I saw anyway. But no, it went like that. Second half, it switched it. But
do you think
it was a? I mean, one. Well, you know, I'm not Bannon's biggest fan, but it was great not to see him there. Got to say, really was. The midfield. I'm not winged. I'm suspect on wing as well, but him and Hutchinson in the middle. I've got to say, Hutchinson had a good game. Really did. Unfortunately, he's obviously got a knock, I think, or a muscle or a strain or something. But it was good to see something different. Obviously, they played totally different to what the first 20 minutes was good, passing round, and the intensity was a bit higher, you know, than what we used to. I think the Gregory, I was really impressed. It was the first game that I've really been impressed with him. His hold-up play, his work rate, everything, especially for Patterson's goal, we'll get onto later. Really impressed me. A Peacock Farrell, I mean, just to go really back, before they kicked off, he came to the away end and he just come round the back of the goal and just clapped everyone. And I think everyone knew, obviously, what happened the game before, and I think it was good for him just to acknowledge all the fans and everything, which he didn't have to, did he? I mean, he could have tried to hide, but then he didn't need to, did he? I mean, I mean, the formation, it was back to it was the same, but the second half switched it up, and it seemed to work. And I think a lot of people have been crying out for 2 up front. Well, it was still Gregory up front on his own, but obviously Patterson is a number 10, should we call it? So, it was good, really good.
Now, Steve, you know, we took the lead. Took the lead. We were winning. Max Power, which I'm pretty sure is a Simpsons episode.
No, it was a magazine, wasn't it? In the 90s for car.
It was. It's where we used to get cheap insurance from in the 90s when we were teenagers. Headed past his own goalkeeper.
I wasn't a teenager in the 90s, Dan.
I meant we.
50% of this podcast.
Oh, Steve's keeping quiet.
It was a change of fortunes.
In the 90s?
Part of them.
Jeez.
Most of them.
Wow. Well, we'll get on to Sheridan versus Bannon later on. So, this was a different type of game. So we weren't chasing. We didn't go in with any kind of trepidation. We went, right, this is how we're going to play football. This is what we're doing, and we set it up really well, Stevie, didn't we? And you know, we took the lead in. Well, I think it reported on BBC in comedy fashion. I mean,
it was brilliant.
It was a better performance. I thought a little bit scrappy first half, and I think that was it was always going to be the case after the run that we'd been on. I get an idea that Moore's gone in there and said we need a reaction, and just on very quickly on the point of Peacock Farrell. Obviously, my season ticket's literally behind the dugout, so I get to see Moore literally. You know, he's 10 meters away from us. So
you stare at his ass for 90 minutes.
He has got a good ass.
He can't miss it.
Ass goals, isn't it? But, he made a point. He made a point after the Peacock foul goal the other day at Shrewsbury. The mistake that he made at home to Shrewsbury. He's around the south stand. He's asking for encouragement, and he wants that support behind him. And I think he wants to, for all his faults or his flaws or the creases that we need to iron out. I do honestly believe that Moore's working his absolute nuts off to create a relationship between the players and the support. And I think that will have played out through the Peacock Farrell stuff. He'd have had a word with him and said, look, you might have been feeling a little bit shit about what's happened, but you make sure that you keep these lads on side, or these supporters on side, because you're a big part of this. And I think that will, that's going to be a sort of a within the fabric of the Darren Moore management sort of style, if you like. I thought Peacock Farrell was really good last night. I thought he was.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was. He was right back to the start of the season when we were lauding him, and I did. I think I mentioned last night for all the crap that he got for Saturday, he deserves as many plaudits as he got for the hammer sort of thing. But I thought it was a little bit. Again, we've talked about it, quite a slow start. I don't think the conditions helped necessarily, the rain coming down and what have you. I don't know what's happened with their goal, but, like Peacock Farrell didn't get the shout on Saturday. He's not had a shout, and he's clearly just gone to head it back. And he's just headed it into an open goal. And I was sitting home watching it last night, and I'm thinking it seemed to take an age to go over the line, didn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know, for me, I obviously I was there last night, but I watched the replays today. The keeper's fault.
Yeah.
I think if you watch it, the keeper's the ball over was not, we had no one round him. There was no pressure to defend. The defender did the right thing, just knocking it back. But what the keeper did, the keeper came far too, like he was going to come and claim that ball.
Yeah.
And he was like far out. So keep the goalkeepers union.
As a centre half, if that's me, and that ball's coming down, I'm heading it back to my goalkeeper in the area and I'd do it 100 times.
Bang in the centre. He headed it back. Bang in the centre of the goal.
Yeah, and that's where you expect the keeper to be.
Exactly.
You expect the keeper to be, not to be stood on the right hand side of his box coming out.
But I think
it was poor, wasn't it?
Once the goal had gone in, I felt we settled into the game, and I thought we were the better side last night. I honestly do. And I know it changed a little bit with the penalty. And we talked about the possession against Ipswich, where it was 54% to them and 46%. It was massively in Wigan's favour last night, but it just didn't feel like it was that. I don't know if that was.
It did, man. I've had an arse twitching exercise tonight trying to get some fuel, but bloody hell, last night it was the same. Like I said, the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. The last 10 minutes.
The last 10 minutes.
I absolutely agree. But from goal on, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Was Gregory on at 2-0?
Gregory had a chance in the area, and he had, sorry, not that I'm a world-class striker or anything like that, but he had too much time in the box. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You could see he angled his body to hit it into like the keeper's bottom left, and the keeper could guess that, and he got it. Good save by the keeper. You got to be there, haven't you? But yeah, if that had gone in 3-1, then it'd have been good. But obviously missed that 2-1. Still time to go, and it's 6 minutes added as well. It gets you, doesn't it?
It was a long time.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's talk about Patterson's goal right after this.
The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.
Welcome back. I know some of you were probably thinking, that's weird. They never have an advert break in the middle. It's because I got it wrong at work and need to take a phone call. So that's nice, isn't it? But I feel like I got away with it. So, right, let's talk about it. Simon, I haven't heard of you in a while, so I'm going to come to you. Talk to me about Pato's goal. I mean, we changed the formation. We stuck him in behind Grego, and he's absolutely slapped one in. I mean, it was nice, wasn't it?
Great work from Gregory, dispossessing the defender, working hard. Great ball in, shins it into the back of the net.
Shins it. I love that every time anybody has a slap.
You're not allowed to give them any sort of benefit of they've actually got any skill. It was purely off his shin, a bit like Marco Matthijs against Leeds, shinned it in.
Yeah, John McGinn against Wednesday, shinned it, mate.
Yeah, the entire population of Leeds to this day say that he shinned it. And I would imagine the 20 Wigan fans there last night say he shinned it as well.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention rugby league because they're all shouters. But anyway, great goal, great finish, beautiful goal. It was either going to go in or basically into stand, really, wasn't it? I mean,
I had made ready.
Yeah. But you got to say the work from Gregory was just superb.
Yeah. Tenacity, went for it. I mean, was it right in front of you, Ash?
No, nowhere near.
All right.
But I've got to say, what I've got to say is that the ref was shocking. He was awful.
This has come up a couple of times this season about the level of officiating. So go on, Ash. Tell us about some examples. I'll
tell you quite a few examples. So the there was quite a few incidences of players jumping, not jumping, doing the Harry Kane thing, where you don't even bother and the defender going straight over the top.
Yeah.
Wigan did it quite a few times and nothing got blown 3 or 4 times. I think it was Dunkley did it once, blew straight away. The little niggly there was that many. The little niggly things of letting things go, but then for Sheffield Wednesday, it was like no, blew straight up against us, obviously. And what made me say this is that obviously the Gregory. So Gregory obviously chasing the ball down, and if you watch the defender, he's expecting to be blown for a foul.
Yeah, he kind of gives up the ghost, doesn't he? A bit?
I don't think he got a touch from Gregory. I don't think Gregory actually put an arm on him, hand on him, shoulder, anything like that. But I think he expects to be blown up for a foul or something. But then obviously Gregory just nips it off him. Great cross, first time finish. But yeah, I think the referee could have cost us there because it was really bad. And like in the section that I was in, like a lot of people weren't happy. Half time, I don't know if you saw it, so if you could hear the booing, it weren't for the team, it was for the ref. And then the usual expletives came out after. So, do you know what I mean? He could have really cost us. And the penalty, soft, but obviously you've seen worse given as well. I think it was soft, but the slightest of touches.
Now, as daft as it sounds, Ash, was it you, Stevie, who put a question mark over Marvin Johnson, or was it Ben the other week? Just sort of, he's not really settled, not really found his form, and then now he's giving away a penalty, or
I think it was Ben. It might have been me. I think it was Ben. To be honest.
It's usually Ash.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm whoever brought that up, I'm firmly in that camp.
Really?
He's not a left back.
No, he's not. But he's Magnolia, isn't he? I think of all the players that we brought in, he's not flattered to deceive, but he's not the one that I've looked at and thought, yeah. And for somebody who's played as many games, I think he played more Championship football than anybody else last year of the lads that we brought in. The games that I saw, I think I saw a pre-season game with him. And a couple of games at the start of the season with him playing further up the pitch. I expected a little bit more from him, if I'm honest. He played very well against Newcastle juniors.
Good goal.
He scored a good goal and acquitted himself really, really well. But playing against that sort of standard, or at that sort of standard, versus playing against Wigan on a Tuesday night in the pissing rain is night and day, isn't it? I don't blame him necessarily. Obviously, he's conceded the penalty, but if he's a square peg in a round hole, then we've got to give him a little bit of slack and a little bit of leeway.
I don't think watching it, Stevie, last night, he didn't do anything else wrong, really. Do you know what I mean? Exactly what you say. He was very Magnolia. He didn't do anything particularly well. He didn't do anything wrong apart from the penalty.
Hey, I say Magnolia because I think I put on the group last night. We were 39 minutes into the game. I didn't even realise he was playing.
Yeah.
He was not involved at all. There was nothing Johnson related in that first half, and that wasn't anything. It's not a positive or a negative. It wasn't a criticism. He was just anonymous.
Has he played in every game this season, Steve?
I don't think he has. No, I don't.
He's not played it now.
He had a few out, didn't he, at the start?
The issue was, and I said it earlier off video, is that the player that really upset me. No, it's not a word. It was Brown. I was really happy that it was put in, but he wasn't. He wasn't in the game. He tried to be in the game, and he caused all sorts of issues at the back. He's supposed to be playing on the left, but he got sucked in, or he wanted to come inside to have an influence on the game, get the ball, and he just left Johnson with two or three Wigan players. It was always down their right hand side. And you could see it. You could see him wandering in, which great. He wants the ball. He's an attacking player. He wants to, but he's got to have the defensive job as well. And a few times he just left Johnson or the covering, whoever came across as well. And a bit short, and it happened a few times. So it was Brown was a bit missing for me last night, I've got to say.
I thought Brown started really well, to be honest with you. I thought he started the game quite well. I don't know if the balance in the formation wasn't quite right, because we talked about whether it was a 1 up top or it was a 2 up top. There's no getting away from the fact that Patterson played much closer to Gregory over the course of the game. They were much closer than we've had previously, and I don't know if that left it just a little bit lopsided, if you like, and left Brown a little bit isolated. I take your point. I absolutely agree with you. I thought he deteriorated through the game, if you like, but I thought he was decent when we started. I don't know if he doesn't like playing in the rain or what, but when it started pissing it down, he became a poor player.
Now, it's nice to talk about a win. I mean, have you ever seen the film The Italian Job, when they've just done a job and they get in that England van and the guy turns around and goes, "Cheer up, you miserable bastards, we won, didn't we?" Which is the vibes I'm getting right now from you guys, you know what I mean? I mean, come on, Simon, we're excited about that. I mean, if you look at the table, we are 9th on 15 points. If we'd have not won that game, if we'd have lost that game, we'd be languishing around 13th, 14th. And as ridiculous as it sounds, that was a huge win for us, right?
We were discussing while you had work issues, the fact that team were top of the league. Mm-hmm. We just actually played Wigan, who were top of the league. So they're no mugs. Mm-hmm. No, they're there because of merit. So maybe we're all still thinking about that Wigan team that got relegated a few seasons ago due to administration and so on and so forth. But I do actually remember going there a few years ago when they went down, and we got beat then as well. In fact, I think every time I go to Wigan, we get beat. So luckily I didn't go last night.
So Jonah Simon doesn't go to the DW.
Well, that's pretty much every game. So we've got to look at it in the back. The fact is that we've just beaten the league leaders.
Yeah.
2-1 in their own backyard. Like rainy Wednesday night in Wigan, which I won't wish upon anybody.
And just on that, if we'd have beaten Sunderland away and they were top of the league, it would have been. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. Yeah. That would have been a great result. Where, last night was a great result, but it was Wigan, and it's not. They weren't. No. They weren't touted as the top 4, were they? Do you know what I mean? Like, was it Sunderland, Ipswich, and Charlton and us, or something like that? I think.
Don't think
at the start of the season. So yeah, it's a great result, and we are just all miserable bastards.
Absolutely. All right, so let's change it up then. So that's 4 points in 2 games, which I think in anybody's circles would have probably taken, as long as his form continues. It's nice to see Lee Gregory finding his feet and finding his role. It's nice to see where it's settling. We probably, we could have discussed the absence of Bannon, but I feel like we've talked about Barry Bannon now for about 7 years. So
can I just say, we didn't miss him. Great. Move on.
Of course you can, Ash, and I'd expect you to say nothing else. Charlton are still languishing in 22nd, which I was just trying to look up back then. That's why I was talking, because they've had a shite start to the season thanks to the kickoff from Sheffield Wednesday. So Josh Windass recently tweeted, having his back and forth with the Wigan fans on Twitter, recently tweeted, "I can't believe they've not erected the statue of me outside yet."
That was good. Yeah.
And that level of shithousing brings me on lovely to some Twitter polls that my esteemed colleagues at the bottom of the screen here have put out there. So Simon, I'm going to let you start the story, and then Ashley, you can pick it up after.
Right. Okay. So we had a conversation, the whole crew, a while ago about the sort of, when we were voted into, was it 4th place, 5th place of number of podcasts, just behind any other. And we were chatting about, the what we do, et cetera, et cetera. And we were saying that we, probably because of our ages, bar Ben, we also remember the 90s quite fondly. And there's some podcasts out there who tend to have a following that's probably more remembering the last 10 years. So probably one of the most creative players in midfield that we've had for some time over the last 10 years is Barry Bannon. And for the rest of us, we remember a certain Irishman who played in midfield. creative maestro of John Sheridan. So I put it out there on Instagram and Facebook of, the two maestros from very different decades. What's your memories of them? Who's the better of the two? Who would you have in your team now? And the shitstorm that it created after that was just, I'm not really into the social media ish. And it on Ash decided to tweet it. So I put it on Instagram and Facebook, and Ash decided to tweet it. And over to you, Ash, in regards to some things we got back on Twitter.
It was, yeah. I mean, anyone who listens, all 10 of you that are listening, if you do Twitter or followers and stuff, I do tend to do a lot of the tweeting and stuff. And Simon, I was sat there one morning. Simon tweeted out this question. I thought, Instagram, Facebook, this question. So I thought, I'll just copy paste that, bang it on. Jesus Christ, tell you what, I didn't do much work that day because it was like EastEnders. It was great. And come on. I mean, seriously, social media, if you can't hack it, don't do it, and all that bollocks. It is a cesspit of the great and the good. For me, my kids say I've got a swinging brick. I don't give a shit. But the some of the stuff on there was just gold. I mean, you get all sorts, don't you? It was a genuine question from, like you said, we're going over decades of different supporters of different eras, and what can I say? 99% of people said Sheridan. Now, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I tweeted it. It doesn't mean I agree or disagree or anything.
Yeah.
Well, we're in the business of just people. Majority of the times, we're bored at work and we tweet stuff and think, I know, see what happens. And the interaction's great and everything. But delete your account now was one thing. Were you on crack when you wrote this? Was from another one. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm more of a Diet Coke man myself. As in the drink, not anything else.
I got accused of phishing, right? Now, I'm a 51-year-old man who has come into social media, fairly late on. I'm 51 next week. And somebody accused me of phishing. And I'm like, do you think I'm actually that bright enough to cast a rod out? This was a genuine question. For some reason, people took it as, you're a fucking loon. Why have you tweeted that?
I'll tell you what. I think there's a fellow podcaster on this podcast,
yes,
that actually tweeted a GIF on Twitter
of a certain Tom
Hardy going,
yeah,
that's bait.
That's bait,
wasn't it?
That's bait.
That's brilliant.
I was trying to sweep up the clusterfuck that you lads had started. That's
and what it also showed was the fact that people who are on Facebook are a completely different breed to people who are on Twitter. Because people on Facebook were saying, well, if you think about it, lads, you've got to think about who those midfielders played with. And like Sheridan had got Cotton Palmer at the side of him, whereas, and you just thought,
it made you think, actually. That. Whereas Twitter was no.
No, that's what I was going to say. Right? So that's what I was going to say. There is an interesting debate in here. When you wade through the who are you, get out my house, delete your account, that type of thing. You know what I mean? If you really break it down, and I would argue that Barry Bannon, in terms of gifted footballer, probably has the edge over Sheridan, right? However, the team that Sheridan played in and the way we used him was sublime.
Absolutely.
Now, this is the question.
Hang on, Dan. If Stevie sat back, not leant forward. That's bad news.
Jesus, I am in trouble here. So, I'm trying to do some Adrian Durham style radio. There's people listening to this now spitting at their radio and I'll go, he said what? Just bear with me. Hold the line, caller. Now, we know that Barry Bannon on his day, when he trusted the players around him, was absolutely outstanding. What if we had Bannon in that 90s team with Carlton Palmer behind him, with Hurst in front of him, with Waddle that type of thing? I mean, he wouldn't have been shit, would he?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us.
You see, I don't think Barry Bannon is shit. Yeah. I think he has the issue he has is the fact that we've built him and put him on this pedestal. Certainly the generation now have been watching the last 10 years. And they put him on this massive pedestal. And footballers tend to take this on now. We have less of a team now as what we had in the 90s. If you read the 91 book, you know, Ron Atkinson had a massive fallout with John Sheridan. And he went to the team the following day and said to them, do you think we should get rid of him? And they all went, what?
Sorry to interrupt, Si. Was it Phil King that told that on the pod?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it's in Alex's book as well.
Yeah,
and,
brilliant.
I mean,
I'll
Big Ron was
retweet
a
that out
fantastic.
when, just if you're interested.
Big Ron was.
How much will it cost?
Is it free? Anyway, he went to the players and asked them, should we get rid of him? And the team went, no, we don't get rid of him. He's a brilliant player. We need to keep him. And he went in and said to Sheridan, right, Shez, you know, last night we fell out. You know, it was a bit bad, this, that, and the other. But you never guess what? I've had a word with that lot down there, and they've all told me to fucking sell you. And I've said, no, that's not happening. I'm keeping you.
He did it all, didn't he?
That was brilliant. That one.
Whereas I don't think we've got a team like that now, and I don't think Bannon wants to be that man. He wants to come back and take the ball off the defenders and go forward. And this is where his downfall is. And I think that's where Ash comes from, is that downfall of he can be a really good player, but he tries to do too much.
Yeah, I think exactly that. I think he wants to be the main man, and I'm sure we'd get more out of him if he didn't. I'm not saying he does think like that. Of course, I don't know. But if he tries to take a little bit more workload off himself,
yeah.
And I think someone mentioned it, and I've said it before, that it's all about trust in your teammates. I don't think. The trust or how he wants to play with certain members of his midfield, it's got to affect him and the team, of course. If you don't trust someone or don't think they're on his level or the way he wants to play, because it's a team, but then also there's a team of his midfield partner if we're playing a 2, or midfielders if we're playing a 3 in the centre. Do you know what I mean? So I think it was great. I loved it. And I'm all for social media. I love it, and it's great. And it was a genuine question, which it was good.
Shut up, you shit! I was in absolute.
It was a genuine question. It was a genuine question. I am not that social media savvy to do that.
Yeah,
I got me a Marlin. Got me a Marlin.
I think you're giving Si too much credit there.
I'm too naive when it comes to social media to do anything like that. Not like you boys.
It was good. Someone said, "Who's next?" Waddle v. Jermaine Johnson. I put something like
a Semabor versus somebody.
Yeah, I went Roland Wilson against John. Not Semabor. Hey, if you guys listening want it, we'll do it.
I don't want.
I meant Twitter polls.
That's bait. All right, then. So coming up next, we've got Oxford. This is where I trouble you all for a prediction on the 2nd of October. It's Oxford, or should I say, Jordan Thornley and Sam Winnall's Oxford. There's probably a bit of an axe to grind. Yeah, there's probably a bit of an axe to grind from him. Sammy Winnall not really set the world on fire after his leg break, to be fair, that he sustained at playing for Derby County, who Derby County. Now, that's Steve.
We've done well not to mention them though in the last God knows how many weeks.
But it's people in glass houses, Ash. You know what I mean?
I know.
It was like when we were going, like we were looking up at Sheffield United here, going ha ha ha. But the entire time we're doing this, going ha 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 ha, just sinking, ha. I don't think we can do it, but yeah, look, Oxford are in 8th. They're actually higher in the league than us. It's a potential banana skin. Steve, what you saying?
I'm confident we're going to win 2-0.
We are at home. Ashley, Steve's gone for 2-0.
To be honest, they've not. I'm going to coin a Stevie's phrase here. They've been Magnolia, aren't they? You've not heard anything about them. They've not set the world right. They've not been battered. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't have told you they were in our league. You see some of the results. They got battered 6-0 or they won 5-1.
Yeah.
I've not seen any of that. So, yeah, we're even I'm an optimist. And I've got positive pants and all that. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 1-0.
1-0 is going to go 1-0 in what's going to be referred to now as Steel Magnolia Derby.
Derby.
Come on, I'm here all week,
God.
kids. Simon.
3-1.
Oh, do you think they're going to get one back?
You reckon
Yeah,
they're
well,
going to score
they're
3?
looking through their results from the start of the season. They're very good at 1. So 1-1, 1-1.
That's right.
They won 2-1. Then they won 1-0. Then they lost 2-1. Then they lost 2-0.
If you've just joined us, this is the Oxford City result reading service.
But if you look, they up until they played Accrington, where they scored 5, pretty much they score 1. So
okay.
I'm going to give them that 1, but we'll beat them.
Okay. Well, there you are, ladies and gentlemen. That's it from us this week. My name's been Dan Fudge. I've got Stevie Spencer. I've got Ash Rogers. I've got Simon Dix. We're all available on Twitter. Have a good time. See you later.
The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.